Hey students, today we're going to go ahead and work on using z-scores to find a value. Here, what we need to do is realize that the score that we're looking for will be the mean plus whatever the z-score is times the standard deviation. Okay, so if I look at my problem, the mean is 80, so that'd be 80 plus. Now you may wonder, why am I using plus? At the end of the problem, I noticed it said above the mean, so if it's above the mean, that's going to be plus, so I would be adding. That's why that's a plus. Then the z-score is going to be whatever the standard deviations are. It says I have a score. When it uses the word score, that's a z-score. That is 2.5 standard deviations. Now, it may be easier for you to compute or put this in a calculator if you just write that as 2.5 instead of 2.5, because 2.5 is the decimal for 2.5. Then you will multiply that by the actual number that was given for standard deviation, which is 16. So I'm going to go ahead now and put this in my calculator. Let me grab my calculator. And that's going to be 80 plus 2.5 times 16. And when I calculate that, I end up with 120. Now this is an above average score because remember the mean was your average. So an average score on that test would have been 80. But this student actually scored 120 because they were 2.5 standard deviations above average. Now in this next problem, we're still going to have our mean to start off with, but this time we're going to subtract the z-score times the value that's given to us for the standard deviation. Now the reason I'm going to subtract in this one is because it says below the mean. So anytime it says below the mean, go ahead and subtract. All right, my mean here is 130. This is another test. My z-score is going to be whatever it says for the score. So that's my z-score. It's 2 standard deviations. Now the numerical value for the standard deviation is going to be where it uses the phrase standard deviation of 26. Now again, I'm going to put this in my calculator. It would be 130 minus 2 times 26. And this score is going to be 78. Now notice 78 is below the average score, which is 130, because this student was below average because it said below the mean. The mean is always the average. Hopes this helps you out in using z-scores to calculate an x value.